Good morning, Secretary General.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. It's always an adventure getting connected at the beginning. Welcome, welcome.
New technologies.
Exactly. Always new lessons for all of us. So welcome to you. Welcome to all of our viewers. I see Robert, Nicholas, uh, Camila, many viewers. So thanks to all of you. As I mentioned, this week we have a special focus on the Conference on the Future of Europe. So we're delighted to have you, our EPP Secretary General, Antonio López-Istúriz, joining us for this feature this week. So maybe I would just start right off and ask you, I know you're a lover of history, a student of history. When you look back at your time in leadership in the EPP family, how would you compare this initiative, the Conference on the Future of Europe, with similar initiatives in the past?
Well, history teaches us that the European construction is made step by step. Unfortunately, overwhelming ambitions in the past, when we had the discussion in what was called at that time, instead of Conference of the Future of Europe, like today, it was called the Convention for the Future of Europe, which was in the beginnings a humble essay to try to discuss publicly, also with citizens, what were the needs to change the European structures. But unfortunately, it ended, with discussions about building a new European constitution, and then two referendums in France and Netherlands that voted against, in referendums against this constitution, showed us that maybe it was too soon for this. It was a reality, thing for all of us, what I call in the Brussels bubble. Priorities for the citizens at that time were other. And today, of course, priorities are different. Security, new technologies, fear of what's to come, what is going to happen. History teaches us the response to the last revolution, which was the Industrial Revolution, and the problems that rose because of that revolution led us to the creation of what I call isms: socialism, fascism, populism, nationalism. And it ended with two world wars that not only affected Europe, but the rest of the world. There is now a humble try to, let's say, overcome this new revolution, the new technologies, digital era, fascinating, like the previous one, fascinating for some people, and creating a lot of fear for the people that they don't feel integrated. So the duty of this Conference of Europe today is to manage with humble ambitions, responding exactly to what the needs of the citizens are. It cannot be anything invented in the bubble of Brussels. And people are asking us, Europe is too complicated. The language that you use in Brussels, it's also complicated. People do not feel close. They understand the need for the European Union, finally. After so many crises, people understand that, being united saves us. Brexit has shown that, and will show that being outside of the European Union is like being outside in the wilderness. We are surrounded, ladies and gentlemen, by wars and by problems. Frontier in Ukraine, the question of Moldova, Georgia, the Caucasus, between Armenia and Azerbaijan, the situation in Libya, in the Middle East. We are living in a bubble. It's not perfect, and there are problems inside. People have noticed that, for example, in the distribution of vaccines and many other things. Well, let's address this. Let's, for example, the question of health that has always been in the hands of national governments. Let's now the European Union bring a little bit of order and coordination for future, let's hope not, but for future pandemics and for future situations that could be created in the future. That is the real vision of the future. What can we address? Many citizens tell us, look, There is not a common foreign policy. One country speaks about, the questions in the Middle East in one sense, the other in another. Someone defends China, the others are against China, Russia the same. Well, we need a single voice, and we need to be coordinated in this. Unanimity in the decisions, it has to be over. There has to be a more democratic way to deal with the decisions inside the European Union, to make them quicker. That's another question that people criticize, that we are too slow in taking decisions. Of course, we are a democracy. We have to take everybody on board, 27 countries, with the regional also realities and local, of course. This decision process in Europe is still slow and not understandable by our people. Let's work on that. Let's that conference on the future of Europe build on that. Then we will be responding to many citizens' demands who want to know, I'm going to have if I am 18 years old right now, I'm going to have unemployment tomorrow morning? What will be my social status? Will there be money to cover my healthcare that is outstanding in Europe? But is there money for the future to maintain this system, the welfare system? Is it possible to maintain it, to live the living standards that we have held for so many years? Is it possible for the next generations? Questions should be answered.
One of the main issues you mentioned was security, and of course, security means economic security as well as in relation to foreign policy and military security, and these issues as well.
Of course, because excuse me, Nathan, we are a democratic island, huh? Europe, United Kingdom, United States, several countries. You can number them. That we have full democracies, huh? And there are people around us, not people. Regimes, individuals, oligarchs that sustain regimes that they hate us. They prefer an authoritarian regime, which is very tempting. One person taking the decision, so responsible for everything. I don't have any responsibility. And some people, I'm curious about that, inside the European Union, that they are living a system of liberties and democracy, they are tempted through populism to have these kind of answers. I am absolutely against. I'm a Democrat, not because I am, because I want my liberty, it's for me crucial, as well as for any European citizen. And I don't want for regimes, charismatic leaders to decide for me. I want to vote and decide what is the future that I want and be responsible for that. This is, the problem for the European Union. We are surrounded by regimes that they don't want us to subsist. And, we have to be, in that very tough. This is a fight, as Joe Biden impressed from the very beginning of his mandate, and the future creation of this conference or summit on democracies, the global democracies that will happen at the end of the year. It's just a demonstration that there is a fight to be given. China is a very powerful country, to be admired, the economical miracle that they are performing, but they have a communist party at the head. I don't want that solution for the future of my children. I would like a democracy with an economical success, that keeps everybody safe, not only economically, not only socially, but of course, as human beings.
I should say, for all of our viewers who don't know, you have a special perspective and insight with regards to foreign policy as the European Parliament's chair for delegation for relations with Israel, and also the EPP chair for a working group on foreign policy. So I wanted to ask you another foreign policy related question, actually, but also one that touches on some of the other issues you've mentioned, and which relates also back to the Conference on the Future of Europe, and that is relations with the UK, which you've mentioned. At the end of April, the Parliament and also the Council officially ratified the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, the TCA, outlining future partnership with the United Kingdom. And then also we're coming up in June on the 5-year anniversary of the Brexit referendum back in 2016. When you look back at these 5 years, starting with the referendum, what are the lessons you think Europeans can learn from that referendum now looking back? And are these issues which could be addressed, should be addressed, if there are similar concerns in the Conference on the Future of Europe?
I just hope that the people involved in the conference course, including me as member of the European Parliament, but many of my colleagues in the Constitutional Committee will be, leading this, that they have the intelligence and the wisdom of, this time, yes, really put the needs and questions of citizens before the bubbles questions. I have the sensation for many years, nearly 20 years that I'm dedicated to European politics, that many times we have focused in initiatives that really were not a priority for the European citizens. I am sorry for that. I have to tell in the name of many people that are working, in Brussels, thousands of people, diplomats, politicians, civil servants. I think that now is the opportunity. Now is the opportunity to really, really answer real questions about the future. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot of fear about the unknown future. What is going to happen? Are we in the brink of a global war? There is much talk about this new Cold War now between the United States and China. What is the place of the European Union in all this? These are questions that people are asking. And more humbly, people that, are suffering, the consequences of economical crisis. This Europe has to be a social market economy. We cannot quit market economy. We need little and middle enterprises to perform. This is the core of the industry and the job creation in Europe. Not being a civil servant. In my country, in Spain, we have 3 million civil servants. Enough. The future of our children cannot be being a civil servant. This is not a Soviet system. We need to help, encourage, and protect the private sector that is doing so much in these incredible tough times, economical crisis, pandemic, you name it, that they're doing a huge effort to maintain those little businesses. That's why I was glad that last week I was defending the candidacy of my good friend Isabel Díaz Ayuso in Madrid, in Spain. She kept shops, little shops open. She kept little restaurants, bars open with social distances. That's why Madrid has not had growing numbers, taking into account economy and the psychology of the people. That's why there was such a magnificent victory. I think that there is a lesson to be learned by all. It's not all about closing all and not giving options and only subsidies. The culture of subsidy has to end. We need to provide the money to support people that are creating jobs. Those are the ones that we have to focus, not to the ones that's the socialist way, to support and give subsidies to those who do not do anything. That is our difference. We want to do it. Of course, also to people that maybe for whatever reasons they don't have this opportunity. They have not had, although they have tried to reach the labor market, but they are not, okay, we focus also on helping them. But enough is enough to the culture of subsidy. We need people to have, everybody wants the dignity of a job, the dignity. And this is what, center-right parties in the EPP have always worked for. Cleaning the house after socialist disasters, because socialists, historically, if we speak about history, whenever they take the power in Europe, you name it, Greece, Spain, in whatever country they have been, they have destroyed the economy. That's you can analyze every socialist government, and most of them, they have done so. And then center-right party comes and has to clean the house and perform the reforms to alleviate the economical, problems of the society. That's a cycle that we have to break. We have to have parties in the left, smart parties also, focus on social affairs, but they have to also, not to destroy the economy every time they come into power. This is, at the end, this is what's bringing populism, the lack of courage to take decisions, to maintain the economy, to give people the dignities of job, to take the tough decisions to this to happen. That has to be the problem, and that's why socialism is disappearing out of Europe. And the problem is that the alternative nowadays is populism. And, this is something that democratically we have to fight. Democratically. We have to show people that these populists, you call it extreme right, extreme left, and also the moderate populists, that they're very good in TV, in Instagram, they speak very well, but at the end they don't perform. Example for my example is Emmanuel Macron, big words, fantastic speeches, I read them with a lot of enthusiasm. But where is France today? Where will be France tomorrow? Is there a danger that Marine Le Pen will take power next year? Food for thought. And this happened in other countries like the United States. So there are lessons to be learned. And I think that finally, traditional politicians like us, which have not been very popular in the latest years, but that we have very clear that we need stable, democratic, rational, responsible solution to the needs of the people. At the end of the story, they will be the ones that, they will drive the future. A long way. Populism is very popular in the media, in the social media, tweets, likes, clicks. It's not about that. That's another thing that I would like to be discussed by this Conference of the Future of Europe. How can we beat this vicious circle of negative news created by media that they want to click? It's business, after all. How can we beat that? How can we have people having the right information? Fake news, what's going on? Fake news in electoral processes, transforming the opinion, the vote of people, based on false information, clearly, and no one is responsible for that. This is something that people would appreciate, that when they go to internet, when they go into the social media, the information they receive, it's real. They like it or not, but it's real. And this is something that also people, I'm sure they would like us to also change.
A couple of short comments, including a couple of shout outs to our viewers. I know jobs is one of the main things that you talked about. The importance of jobs is one of the main things you and your colleagues in the EPP group in the European Parliament are going to be focusing on this year. And also, I think on the note of democracy and values, which you mentioned, it's important to just send a greeting to our friends at IDU. They sent us a greeting earlier in the interview. And I also see that we have some applause from a viewer. EU can beat cancer. I don't know exactly who the viewer is, but anyway, it's a reminder of this very bold initiative put forward by the European Commission to beat cancer on a very positive note, as you mentioned. So if I could ask you...
No, I'm sorry, Nathan, and I have to mention, thanks to the courage and the fight of Manfred Weber, the president of the EPP group in the European Parliament, that he was the one pushing for that in the past European campaign. And I'm very grateful for that. I explained in Instagram, in another interview, I explained why I was affected by cancer in the past. I am today much better, and and I wanted to share a positive story because there are also positive stories that they have to be, people have to know, and of course precaution, to take always preventive measures, to checks, regular checks every year. When they tell you from 50 years old, no, do it since 30 years old. Do regular checkups. Do not be afraid of that. So you could avoid things that some of us, we had to go through in the past. That's my message. And I think that Beat Cancer, is a fantastic initiative. It was about time. It affects millions of Europeans. And I think that we have to go for that.
And maybe I could also just mention the great work our EPP Commissioner, Stella Kyriakides, is doing in leading this initiative as well.
Of course.
Just
yes.
One other question for you. I know you're a lover of history and biography, and you've given us a lot of historical perspective again today. I always like to ask you, is there anything in particular now that you're reading, that you're watching, your series, a film, a book that you could recommend to us?
Well, I have just, For a long time, I've been watching over and over this film by David Michaud. It's called The King in Netflix. If you have Netflix, I would recommend you, and you love history and politics. It's a Shakespearean version of Henry V. And I think it's a great adaptation. And humbly tells you, where we were 500 years ago, with European nations killing each other, invading each other, for the search of power, and the dream that many had in the past to unify Europe. You call it Charlemagne, you call it Napoleon, so many in the positive and in the very negative side. Humbly, it has been this democratic project that finally has put French and English put together. Unfortunately, Brexit took us this opportunity, from the British, after all these centuries, that this film demonstrates, but okay, I know that we are not going to fight again. One of the consequences of Brexit has to have, that we have a good relation with the United Kingdom. Forget about the past, they took a democratic decision. As a Democrat, I have to accept, but let's keep a good relation, not giving them, whatever, because they left this club. So this is a very exclusive club. There are many countries that they want to come in. Because there are a lot of countries that they want to share what's going on in the European Union. Imagine that when I hear many critics inside, and so on, I hear, but why so many countries? Why millions of immigrants, they want to come to Europe? If we are so bad, if everything is so bad inside the European Union, as many proclaim, all these populists, why is that millions of people want to come here? Something might be right. So, okay, let's, that's and the book I'm reading, I have just started yesterday, is the new book by, by Michel Barnier, where he tells about the insights of the Brexit negotiation. I recommend that. I think it's going to be very interesting.
Well, that's a very good segue to the final question. And that is, when you think, this is a question we're asking all of our guests this week in this feature on the Conference on the Future of Europe. When you think of Europe, what one word comes to mind?
Freedom. I'm free, not to do whatever I want. My freedom starts where the other freedom begins, stops. But to take my decisions freely and be responsible for that. I think that there are many people in the world, in other countries, that they envy what we have. They cannot take the decision for their future. So, I want to maintain the system. It's imperfect. It's not the best, but we are working to make it, the best and most attractive system. It has to be a democratic system where my freedoms are defended and valued. That's very important. And Nathan, I was afraid that you were going to ask me something about my musical, choices, but I'm happy that was not the case.
Well,
because I would tell you Nirvana, and I don't think that has any connection with the European Union. So there we go.
Well, come as you are. Secretary General Antonio López-Istúriz, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. Thanks for the work you're doing, the work that the party is doing. Always a pleasure speaking with you, and hope you and all of our viewers have a great day. To all of our viewers, thanks for tuning in. Please join us again next time for our next episode of EPP Family Talks.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you to the team, and thank you to everybody that was watching. Goodbye.
See you. Goodbye.